Yo, what's up, Dragon Ball Super family? That's kind of a meme. Uh, while I was at Nationals this weekend and super bummed out from my poor performance in top 32, I decided to go play team with my good buddy Robert Rizzi and my friend Jonathan Lanza. Man, I have a fake name for him that I was trying not to use. We crushed it. We didn't drop a game, we didn't drop a match, and I didn't drop a game on this leader. It's a really good leader for teams, and if you're going to play some Zenkai Cups, great leader for that choice. I'm going to talk to you about the new Gotenks structure deck leader. Or starter deck, I don't know what they call them in this game. Gotenks front side, nuts. When this card attacks, you draw a card. Crazy, right? Auto, and it's very important that this is an auto. If you have 2 or more energy, when you activate Union Fusion skill, you may flip this card over, take cards and take life on 2 down to 6, draw a card, and untap an energy. That's super sick at auto speed, and I'll talk about that when I get to the combo. And then, of course, if you're at 4 or less life, you can actually just manually awaken, draw 1, and switch 1 to active mode. On the backside, super cool original ability. When this card attacks, draw a card. Nuts. Once per turn, when you activate a Union skill, you can play a Ghost token with 15k power in Rest mode. Now, these Ghost tokens are exactly as shown. They literally only have 15k power, so they can't attack or they can't be comboed. But this leader's Activate Battle lets you effectively combo with them. Activate Battle. Once per turn, you can sacrifice a Ghost token in any position. You can remove from the game, and then you can combo with a 0 for 5k from your drop with its skills negated. So that's a super cool way to generate Z energy. Effectively, you can generate 2 Z energy every turn, every one of your turns. Or you can just have this up for defense, and then you can generate Z energy for free. Like, you can swing with it, leave it there, and then when your opponent attacks, you can sacrifice it to generate Z energy. So that's super cool. Super fun fact. Since you're not actually comboing this card, even if your opponent attacks this card, you can just activate battle, send this card away, right? Yeah. Send this card away and generate some Z energy. So this card's like super safe in anything that's not named Sin Shenron or red, pretty much. So that's pretty cool. Moving into the actual deck, as usual, we'll go in mulligan order. So we have 4 copies of Goku, the Legendary Fusion Warrior. Right, this is like your only turn 1 play. After turn 1, he's kind of useless. But on play, he searches for a Union Fusion from your deck, right? Of some restriction, 6 or less probably. Most of the time, there's only 2 Union Fusions in this deck. Most of the time, if you don't have it yet, you're just gonna search for the Gotenks Fusion Confusion. He's like the 3-drop chunky one, failed Veku one, so that's pretty cool. That's like your best target to search. If you already have one, you might consider searching for the other one, which is Grim Reaper of Justice. But going into that later. He's also got this Activate main. You can place this card in the drop, and he's got a lot of text that pretty much says you reveal one of your Union Fusions, then you can get both Fusion pieces from the deck, right? That's super dope. Obviously, it costs 1 energy, so it can't be played the turn you play him on if you play him on turn 0 or 1. But oftentimes, if he does survive the turn 2, that's going to be the line you take, because this card alone becomes a +2. Or, yeah, +2. So that's pretty cool. And of course, he fixes your whole deck for you. Oftentimes or not though, more often than not versus red, he oftentimes will just say play 1, search your fusion, and then he turns into Z energy because red's just gonna kill him otherwise. But you do want this for turn 0/turn 1. The next card you are looking for is your Unison. I only play 4 copies of the Unison. I play just SS3 Gogeta, Carefree Combat. I can't read upside down very well. This Unison is way better than the old Vegito Unison. Like leagues better. It's got this super irrelevant Empower green 5, so that's kind of cool. If you do play it on top of another one, you can empower 5 markers onto it and maybe get your -6 off, which is activate main, your opponent discards 2 cards. So effectively, you can turn this card into a Ribrianne. You can pay 2 and your opponent discards 2, right? It's auto super dope. Once per turn, when you activate a Union skill, you can gain a marker to this card. This card just gains a marker. So it creeps up on markers pretty quickly. Much like the old Green Vegito, oftentimes this card is getting 2 markers a turn. So Green Vegito doesn't even have that advantage, right? And you're like, dang, that's crazy. Green Vegito lets me draw. Well, let me sell you on this. This card's +1 is you can bottom deck 1 card from your hand, usually another copy of itself or a fusion piece. Reveal a fusion from your hand, a Union Fusion from your hand, then add a piece from the drop and a piece from the deck to your hand. That is insane to me. It's just constantly fixing your fusions for you. It allows you to combo with your fusion pieces early game, like versus aggro, and then just add it back to your hand so you don't go neg. Like, that's crazy, right? This card's ridiculous. So that's why it's the only copy Unison we play. We play 4 copies of the last card you want to see in your opening mulligan. So just to reiterate, it was one of these 3. Like you want to see all 3 of these in your. This is your perfect hand. If you see this, maybe a fusion piece as well. But like this is godlike, right? Or like these 2 and a fusion piece. Like that's your best dream. Gotenks Fusion Confusion, right? It's got Deflect Barrier, which is nuts. Any card that has Deflect Barrier is automatically nuts in my book. It's got Union Fusion Limit 1, thank God. For 0 energy cost, you can do this Union Fusion. Of course, with its 2 standard Gotenks Trunks pieces, right? Youth pieces. Then activate main if your leader card is something like this. You can send it to the graveyard, or send it to the drop area, and then choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost 3 or less and KO it. That's super relevant, right? You can freely remove 3 drops or less for 0 energy in this deck. And of course, it triggers all of your autos that trigger when you fuse, right? So you get a token off this, you get the marker on this, you probably like make $1 million off your opponent, like some other auto. It's ridiculous. This card does a lot. So it's also a 0 energy attacker. So you can play this. You can get some free combos, deal some damage to your opponents. Moving forward, we got our first pair of dumb kids. This is the Super Saiyan Sun Goten and Super Saiyan Trunks, Paternal, whatever. Too long of a name, but it's an unbelievable card for this deck. So limit 1 if your leader has Gotenks. I don't know, whatever. When you fuse with this card, your leader gains 5k is what this says. That's insane to me. And then furthermore, activate battle, limit 1 of course, because it's too good. You can combo with this card from your drop area. And then of course, send it to your Z energy. It has this auto where it says when this card is put in your drop area from your Z energy, it gets removed from the game instead, right? So that interacts poorly, like in case you wanted to use it, spend it as Z energy for something as cost. But it interacts well if you can just send it directly from your Z energy back to the deck. That's really powerful. So we'll be doing that a lot with this card. But also just like recycling this card on repeat to give your leader 5k effectively makes your leader a 20k, like permanently on your turn, right? So that's really cool. In case it didn't make sense, you always want to fuse with this every turn. The other card you want to always fuse with every turn is Trunks Bonds of Friendship. This is oftentimes energy, and so is Goku, and so is this Unison. Those are like your energy. Because you only need to see one of these like for an entire match. When this card is fused with, you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck and add a Unison 2-drop or less, or 2-drop, specifically 2-drop to your hand. So you obviously add the Gotenks, right? Future copies of the Gotenks, like every time you find an extra copy of the Gotenks on your next turn, you'll +1 on this Unison and bottom deck the Gotenks. So you see how this is like a perfect circle engine. You just keep adding pieces to your hand. Your advantage just keeps building. It's a crazy advantage for a green deck. It's got this other effect that's like never relevant, but you can pay 1 green, activate main, and play a Sun Goten from your deck. So that can be either this or it can be either pair of kids that we play. And then as a backup, I play 2 pairs of the dual kids, right? It's just so like both of these fusion pieces count as both names, but you have to have like separate cards for fusion, if that makes sense. But this just gives you redundancy. It's searchable. You'll never use its activate main, but it's there. You can pay 1 energy, crit 1 of your own life, play it, and attack for 15. Then you can return it to your hand, try to find yourself a fusion or a unison, right? But it's really just there because it's got 2 names, and it's just redundancy. Because in case you Z all of these and then you do end up sending them to the drop, you're going to run out of Gotens. If you notice, I don't have any standalone Gotens in this deck, and that's on purpose because the standalone Gotens are terrible. It's got no other good effect. For our second and only other fusion, we play 4 copies of Grim Reaper of Justice. This card is ridiculous. On fusion, it draws 2 cards. That's crazy. So it replaces itself, and then all the other effects are going to replace it too. You just gotta think of it that way. Yeah. And then it also KOs one of your opponent's battle cards on play. That's nuts. It's got dual attack, 25k, and is a 6-drop, so it avoids Dirty Burst. Can't be super comboed out of very healthily unless your opponent has a bean. And it automatically removes something. And then furthermore, it's auto. When this card is removed from the battle area by your opponent's skill, I think. Probably, it'd be broken otherwise. Or KO'd. You can add both fusion pieces back to your hand. Specifically, 1 Trunks Youth and 1 Goten Youth from your drop area back to your hand. That's super cool because it doesn't have an energy restriction on that. We're going to go into how that affects us later. Play 2 copies of this Goku, Son Goku Fated Rival. It effectively reads like spend 2 energy and bottom deck any Saiyan Earthling or something like that from your Z energy to the bottom to your deck to play this card, right? So you can send this from your Z energy to the bottom of your deck, preventing it from getting removed from the game, or you can send spent super combos that are chilling your Z energy, allowing you to play more super, like resolve more super combos in a game, right? But it really just once it's played, it chooses one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring Bear, and just KOs it. Like it's super simple effect. Gives green really good accessible Bear removal. Before we had to play this terrible 5-drop fusion that it costs 3 energy. Now you don't have to have fusion pieces, you just pay 2 and remove it. So that's super dope. I don't play the partner because the partner sucks. Like the partner is like really good versus blue. You'll see it's in the side deck, but in the main deck it just does nothing in this format, right? This deck is naturally really good into blue already. So like as standard, I tech this deck out for Zenkai, but really just geared towards red. Uh, this card's also got barrier and double strike, so that's constant pressure, right? So that's pretty cool. Played 2 copies of this Goku, Kaioken Son Goku the Furious. It's just a 1 energy play. Like when you're on turn 3 or 4, you have 1 energy left over. There's no reason to keep energy up in green, pretty much, unless you play like Cell's Kamehameha. That's like the only card I'd probably replace this with if you don't have this card. It's like Cell's Earth Destroying Kamehameha or something like that. But it's a 1 energy play. When you play this card, your opponent discards a card. Super simple effect, and it's a 15k attack. If you have a token out, you can use the leader to make it a 20k critical, so that's kind of cool. Or you can even use the little pair of kids from the drop area to combo to make it a 20k critical for free. So like the card has value that it's obviously super pressure, like it's good into blue, but it's like not great into red, so use it as you will. It's just a 1 energy filler. If you really wanted to tech out the deck for red, these would probably be Cell's Earth Destroying. Going to some tech choices. Speaking of techs, we play 2 copies of the Sun Gohan Latent Power Unleashed. When this card's added to Z energy, you remove 3 markers from your opponent's unison by paying 1 green. That's insane. I don't even know what the on play effect is, but it probably does like some kind of KO effect. Yeah, that sounds about right. I probably would never cast this card ever, but it can be cast. What you do need to know that is if it is added to your Z energy without its skills negated, of course, I got that ruling fixed on me this weekend, then you can remove 3 markers from one of your opponent's unisons. Super dope. Here's my answer to Floodgates, Dark Death Ball. You can play Dodoria if you want to maintain your unison. I mean, either way, you have to maintain a unison with this card. But this card is free, and I like free in decks that I can't untap in. Dark Death Ball counterplay, if the card your opponent is playing has energy cost of 4 or less, and you have a unison or something like that, it's placed in the owner's drop instead. That's super dope. And then if you have a unison, you can choose to activate this card for free by discarding 2 cards instead. And you're like, oh my gosh, discarding 2 cards is so costly. But that's not true with this frickin' unison, right? Like you can discard a pair of kids, right, or some kind of combination of kids, and then you can use this to pick up the kids, right? Grab the cards from the deck. So you generate so much advantage that this card really never costs too much. And the fact that it lets you out like a floodgate, especially like at a crucial moment, is just like the difference between winning or losing a game. So this card is insane. I played 3 copies of Dormant to try to survive against red. That's about it. Played 3 copies of Homicidal to try to survive against red. Played 4 copies of Frieza Charismatic to try to survive against red. But I played 4 copies of Frieza Charismatic Villain because the card is nuts, right? Like you develop a unison on 2, and now you have a removal for any 7 drops or less. Like if you win the die roll against Sin Shenron and you open the unison plus this card, it's actually really hard for Sin Shenron to catch up. Like you can just snipe a card for free, and that didn't even cost you energy. If you really wanted, you could even leave up energy for alternative plays, like afterwards. This card is nuts. Unfortunately, it doesn't hit many bombs, but like versus SS4 Goku Vegeta, when they developed like the Kicking Goku or the Vegeta, you can just slam this card in response, and for 0 energy, you killed like one of their development cards. Like that's super dope. Card's cracked. It's also good energy. Like you can just charge it. For the super combos, I split them between 4 copies of Paragus and 1 copy of Trunks. Of course, Paragus, just best green super combo. There's nothing that you desperately need in your deck, so there's no reason to play the bottom deck Gohan one. This lets you get rid of dead unisons. The only advantage of playing the Gohan one, I guess, is that it would let you bottom deck unisons to find them again and maybe find like bottom deck extra fusion pieces to find again. But I just think Paragus, the fact that it's always a 0 for 10k matters when you're trying to get like not to avoid crit. And of course the 1 Trunks Protector of Children super combo, simply because it can be picked up with Grim Reaper of Justice. Once you resolve this, people like stop wanting to remove your Grim Reaper of Justice, which is actually a horrible trade because like now they're just going to take 2 dual attacks every turn instead of giving you a super combo back, right? So that's kind of weird. But I mean, people will do what they'll do. The only reason not to play this card is that it doesn't come in foil. It comes in stamp, so you can do what you will. My SCR choice was Cell Max because this is like the best green SCR now. It's a 1 energy quad strike that that people never see coming because it's in green, and green's a terrible color. But it can't attack unless you have 4 more energy, right? So that's super crazy because you can spend 3 of your 4 energy on turn 4, like developing fusion, Z awakening, doing a ton of attacks to burn out all of your opponent's tools, and then you're like, damn, that's crazy. Like for 1 green. I think I got about like. Yeah, I think I got like 3 people with this, right? This card's insane. Sorry, we were having technical difficulties there. And we're still kind of having. Okay. Technical difficulties aside, I just kind of want to finish this deck list. Selmax, 1 mana quad strike, hard to beat. If you have 3 or less energy, this card can't be removed by your opponent's skills, and it can't attack. So, like, if you have an extra energy early, you can just develop it, and your opponent can stare at it. It's like super cool. And then in my overarm choice, SS4 Vegeta Fan Greeting. Because we're a green deck and we mildly do some hand control, like, this just adds. This adds to that hand control and then, like, finishes off the game. Hopefully we can speed through this because this headset's like on its last legs or something, so we'll try to burn through this. Z deck. This. 2 Frieza's hand awaken. Jiren Piccolo. Piccolo never comes up, surmounting never comes up unless you need to go to 5 so you can turn on Homicidal to turn on your super combos. That's the entire deck. I'm not going to go over the Z deck, mainly because I'm having so many technical difficulties, and I'm not trying to re-record this late. But the deck is super fun, really great into blue, bad into red if you go second, really good into red or anything if you go first. It's just like most decks in this format. Shout out to everybody as usual. Fox PPG, great nationals, super fun playing with the guys, super fun seeing all of you there. I really hope you consider this deck for Zenkai decks. It's a really good way to hunt down blue. Like I said, they can't dirty burst your boss monster. They just have to like slowly super combo at it. That sucks for them all the time. They can't clear it for free. Like any form of removal from it does not remove hand parity because you just get your stuff back. Like blue's removal is terrible versus deck. You get your Gotenks back, which means you can search for it again. And then since the Gotenks got removed, you can add the combo piece or the fusion pieces back. Like you're just constantly slamming Grim Reapers into their face. It's just terrible. Deck's super fun. Hope you guys enjoy it if you give it a shot. As usual, reach out to me if you have any questions. Peace.